Good afternoon. Welcome to Kansas City Council Committee of the Whole for Tuesday, November 18. First up, we have roll call. Melissa, may we have roll call, please?
Council President Corr?
Here.
Councilmember Boyce?
Here.
Councilmember Boyd?
Here.
Councilmember Fincher?
Here.
Councilmember Larmer?
Here.
Councilmember Michaud?
Here.
And Councilmember Troutner.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Okay, next up, agenda approvals. Any changes to the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to change item G to be no action, information only.
All right. Any objections? All right. Any other changes? None. May I have a motion to approve with amendment, please?
So move.
Second. Oh.
All right. Motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. We have item G as information only. Okay, next up, approval of minutes for November 4.
So move. Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion passes, thank you. Okay, next up, payment of bills. We received those in our email.
So move. And second.
Motion and second, any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you so much. Okay, next up, we have agreement with SHI International Corp. through cooperative purchase agreement, and we have James Endicott here. Welcome.
Good afternoon, council members. James Endicott, Deputy Director for IT. As we're kind of going through some changes, roles, and responsibility in IT, I have Joe Bennett here, our security supervisor, who's going to present the contract tonight.
I am presenting for your consideration the Rapid7 renewal, which will be using a new collective purchasing agreement, basically utilizing the collective purchasing agreement with SHI via DES that utilizes the NASPO National Collective Purchasing Agreement. This contract will help with future purchases within its terms and as long as it's in effect, and will withhold, basically make it so that you don't have to worry about future budget approvals. The software itself, the renewal is for Rapid7's vuln management software. And with the expiring contract, new contract will help with the continuation of the security and protection of the city. And with that, any questions?
Any questions for Joe?
Quick question, please.
Okay, Councilman.
Thank you, Madam President. This is a new contract, SNHI, and what was the old contract? Or is it just a renewal of the?
Contract, do you remember?
So it's still with SHI.
Okay.
It's just that the NASPO contract that originally was writing has expired, and so it's the new NASPO contract. So this is just simply a renewal on the new NASPO
Gotcha.
contract.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? If none, I'll make a motion. I move to authorize the IT director to purchase through the cooperative purchasing agreement the State Department of Enterprise Services has with SHI International Corp. if those purchases are within the city's established budgets and made during the term of the state contract, which is in effect through April 24, 2027, or any later contract extensions the state may authorize.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, James. All right, next up, we have third amendment to the interlocal agreement with City of Maple Valley for municipal court services, and we have Candace. Welcome.
Hello, I'm Candace Enders, Court Administrator at the Municipal Court. Before you today is the third amendment to the interlocal agreement with Maple Valley for court services. Since 2013, the City of Kent has provided the City of Maple Valley with access to municipal court services. That includes court staff, probation staff, and a courtroom twice a month. This amendment is for 1 year with an option for renewing for an additional 3 years. Are there any questions? to the amendment.
Any questions or comments? All right, wonderful. I'll read the motion. I move to authorize the mayor to sign a contract amendment that extends city's interlocal agreement with the city of Maple Valley for municipal court services through December 31st, 2026, with further extension options through December 31, 2029, subject to final terms acceptable to Kent Municipal Court and city administration.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All right, if none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, Candace. Good to see you. All right. Next up, we have Tammy White with Renew Software subscription to Origami Risk. Approve and ratify. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Tammy White, City Attorney. Before you is a contract that renews an ongoing contract we've had with Origami Risk since 2019. As you may know, risk management services in the city was reorganized this year back in May, so it's now divided between the law department and HR department, with law taking on liability claims management and then HR remaining with workers' compensation. So this contract is increasing in price. A lot of that, one, is due to our prior contract was fixed price for 3 years. Did not go up with inflation, did not go up with cost of living adjustments. We also doubled the amount of users now in light of this reorganization. So given the need to kind of catch up with inflation and current market rate conditions, and then also the additional users that we needed to have staff in my office be able to access the system, that is resulting in a slight increase. So under the prior contract term, it was $51,200 per year. We're going to $62,384 a year, so about $10,000 difference. This contract would be for an additional 3-year term because of timing aspects here. So when we did the split of risk management services, HR department and my department were both working with the data that gets exported from the system and making sure it was accurate. We had some performance issues that we were working with Origami through. Because of that, we weren't able to get the contract to you to renew because we wanted to make sure we resolved those tech issues before we move forward. So given the tight timeline, we did renew the contract. So the authorization I'm seeking from you today is to authorize and ratify that prior renewal, and then also to approve future renewals of this contract, so long as you've already budgeted money for it in our budget. So I just want to make sure you understand the full scope of the authorization that I'm asking for from you today. With that, I can answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Tammy? All right. If none, I'll make a motion. I move to approve extending the city's subscription to Origami Risk for an additional 3 years under the terms of the original software subscription agreement. Approve future renewals if the costs of those renewals can be paid with funds previously budgeted and approved by council, subject to contract terms acceptable to the city attorney, and ratify all consistent acts.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, Tammy. All right, next we have Economic and Community Development. Councilmember Larmer.
Thank you, Council President. We have 2 items tonight. We're going to start with an ordinance amending Title 15 of the Kent City Code, communal residences. We will take action on this one, and I'll turn it over to Deja Mitchell.
Good afternoon, or I guess it's evening now. Good evening. I'm Deja Mitchell, Long Range Planner here, and I'm here to present on Recode Kent Phase 2, and in particular, co-living. So this part of Recode Kent and this draft ordinance really focused on legal compliance with HB 1998, and that is state legislation surrounding co-living. And just a reminder, co-living is sleeping units that are independently rentable and lockable and have some type of shared facility such as a kitchen. So as far as what we did to comply with HB 1998, just a quick overview here. We did communal residence update, or definition update rather. We created a tiered approach with amenities, some parking regulations, so we added those, and then we did some updates to some footnotes. And on the 5th, we did have a hearing on this draft, and Land Use and Planning Board recommended in a 5-0 vote that council adopt this proposed ordinance. So just a deeper dive into what the actual law states and what we did to update our Kent City Code. So HB 1998 or House Bill 1998 states that we must allow co-living on any lot that allows at least 6 multifamily residential units. So that's inclusive of lots zoned for mixed use and also lots within a half-mile walking distance of a major transit stop. As far as density, legislation says 1 sleeping unit is equivalent to 1/4 dwelling unit. And for parking, we cannot require more than a maximum of 0.25 off-street parking spaces per each sleeping unit or per each co-living sleeping unit. Lastly, standards for co-living cannot be any more restrictive for co-living units or sleeping units than they are for multifamily units in that same zone. So as far as what we did for updates for Kent City Code, so we already had something similar in our code called communal residences. So we took that and created a tiered approach. So we maintain our existing regulations for communal residences and also to adopt state regulations surrounding co-living. So first we updated our communal residence definition. We did that to align more with the state's definition for co-living, and we also added in wording to be inclusive of those lots that are mixed use or in mixed use zones. We also updated our communal residence footnote, so that's footnote 33, with our tiered approach, so it's now a tier 1 and a tier 2. And we also updated communal residences to have regulations for our shared amenities, such as a kitchen or bathroom. As I stated previously, we cannot be any more restrictive with co-living than we are with multifamily, so we moved over our restrictions for multifamily over to co-living in our mixed-use zone, so those footnotes moved over with our tier 2. We also added parking standards for both our tiers, so tier 1 and tier 2, as there were not any parking standards for communal residences prior to this update. So here's what that looks like. You can see in our development standards here, or our development table, communal residences are broken up into 2 tiers. So we have tier 1 and tier 2, where tier 1 maintains what we previously had for communal residences, and tier 2 adopts what the state has for co-living. And you can see on the latter end of tier 2, we moved over those footnotes that we had for multifamily in those mixed-use zones. So I'll give you all a second to look at that. So as far as timelines, by December 31st, we must have effective regulatory standards allowing for co-living or communal residences in our case. So because of this timeline, this ordinance will roll over to council consent agenda tonight. And that is all I have for you all. Any questions?
Great, thank you. Any questions? Okay, with no questions, I will read the motion. Is the right one here? I move to adopt ordinance number 4529, amending Title 15 of Kent City Code to update and clarify development standards for communal residents to comply with new state co-living requirements.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Okay, second item on our agenda tonight is ordinance amending Chapter 6.02 of the Kent City Code Infrastructure Improvement Exemptions Adoption. Matthew Chastain
Yeah, I'm going to introduce one of our current leaders. I realized you all haven't seen him before. So this is Matthew Chastain. He started, I think he's one of our major economic and community development success stories of really nurturing and developing staff in-house. So he started as an intern and then was so great that when he graduated, we decided to hire him as a current planner. And he has been a great addition to the team. It was a great way to do development of staff and also to bring along an extra addition to the team. Planners are hard to come by, especially good ones. So we're lucky we were able to retain him. We also are doing some cross-training with him. So I think the first time you heard this ordinance, it was with me. Matthew and I have been sharing responsibilities of presenting and doing some of the work, both with Land Use and Planning Board and you all. So he's going to present tonight. We're going to take this opportunity. We'll do it as a briefing to let you know where we're at. We did have a hearing with Land Use and Planning Board, but we have an opportunity to discuss any questions you may have as well.
Thank you, Kristen. That was really kind. But like she said, I appreciate that. My name is Matthew Chastain. I'm a current planner with the City of Kent's Planning Department. I am here today to present on the city's proposal to encourage more small-scale residential infill development through the exemption of infrastructure improvements. Today, I'm going to do a brief overview of the project schedule, discuss the current state of our small-scale infill development, and then I will go over our proposed changes to the current infrastructure requirements for developments of 4 or fewer residential units, coupled with an infrastructure requirement map. As Kristen had stated, we did have that Land Use and Planning Board hearing on the 5th, and they had recommended in a 5-0 vote that we bring this to you all for consideration, and that is why we're here today. As a reminder, when we were adopting the comp plan and the middle housing, we received clear direction and we established policies to create homeownership opportunities, retain existing housing, and then promote smaller scale development. The ordinance tonight is helping to achieve all three by reducing infrastructure costs when the city does not have plans for other development in the area. Small-scale development projects are less able to shoulder the cost of development, whereas larger projects can spread that cost over a greater number of units, which ultimately leads to many of these smaller projects not making it to completion, which is that red circled number there at 32% for small short plats versus 70% for long plats. Originally, the zoning restrictions were the primary hurdle that hindered our small-scale development, but now with the implementation of middle housing, things like the stormwater and utility connections, site access, the parking, the environmental constraints, whether on the site or near it, were another issue, as well as the infrastructure improvements that tended to be in areas like the street frontage or the right-of-way. These are the main high-cost items that keep these smaller property owners from being able to build on their lots. Basically, the only way these projects can absorb the cost are if they're these larger scale developments where they can spread that cost out over a greater number of developmental units. Going back to our data, if we're going to encourage more small scale development, we need to update the existing policy to right-size costs while still achieving our growth and transportation goals. The image you see here pinpoints some of the infrastructure improvements that can be required for these smaller development projects, whether that's street trees, curbs and gutter additions, additional sidewalks, storm drainage, parking, that sort of stuff. On average, for a residential property that's trying to add a couple of additional units, it's on one single street frontage, the cost can be upwards of $60,000 to $80,000. For a corner lot that fronts 2 streets, that cost can be upwards of $200,000. Basically, for somebody who wanted to do an additional residential unit or 2, this could pretty much put a stop to their entire project. Based on the feedback that we heard from you all, as well as from the Land Use and Planning Board, we have pinpointed the following code area for updates. The first one is updating the cost exception cap stated in 602040 to adjust for inflation and reflect the current year. The second one is to add an additional exception, item D, to that code section. And then the primary one is to create a new code section numbered 602045 entitled Small Scale Infill Development Infrastructure Improvement Exemptions that will explain that exception item D. Per the new code section 602045, all new residential development consisting of 4 or less units in the NRL, NRS, and NR2 zones will not require infrastructure improvements. There are certain types of streets and pedestrian areas that we have recognized as still needing these improvements, so we have also included the 2 conditions following that are waiving those improvements when they would not be applicable. That is whether the development site abuts a roadway shown on our most current version of the city's 6-year transportation improvement plan, or if the development site abuts a roadway classified as existing or future principal arterial, minor arterial, or a major collector. Additionally, for any project that is determined to not require these infrastructure improvements, we have decided that they would still have to do a right-of-way dedication that would give that to the city. Basically, if there was going to be improvements down the road, we're not completely discounting that. We still have the opportunity to update those, add sidewalks, connect those whole street sections. Another benefit of this policy is that it would reduce the creation of sidewalks to nowhere. I'm sure a lot of people have seen that where you've got one house on a block with sidewalk, the others do not. It kind of creates more of a disjointed, larger section and disconnect from the neighborhood as a whole. From these routes that I pointed out, we have created the infrastructure improvement requirement map. This would basically incorporate the route shown in that transportation improvement plan, as well as the existing and future principal arterials, minor arterials, and major collectors. Basically, anything that would fall on that would require those infrastructure improvements. Additionally, this is not a set in stone map as that transportation improvement plan changes. This would just be more of like an endpoint guideline that we would then base the review off of for that. Basically, this proposal is intended to right-size infrastructure requirements to encourage small-scale developments consisting of 4 units or less.
Wanted to add one additional point. So it's the blue, sorry, I'll step in. You're good. Great job, Matthew. It's the blue and the red in this map that are showing. So the blue is where we have it identified in a plan for a rolling, the TIP, which is our 6-year rolling infrastructure plan for roadways and transportation projects more generally. And so if it's blue, it would be flagged for us as infrastructure likely to be required or to be required. And then the red lines are those larger roadways in the city where we said this is meeting other transportation goals and it for sure would require it. We do, in addition to the dedication so that we have the space in the future, if we have funding and a project to go in, we also retain director's discretion. So our great director, Chad from Public Works, this is in Title VI of his of the code that his group administers in conjunction with ECD. There may be instances where it makes sense for ADA improvements, or if there's already sidewalk there that needs to be repaired, that the director would have the discretion to retain it. One of the reasons that we didn't add more lines on this map is to do a waiver process to exempt is another step of processes that an individual would need to hire an engineer to justify their request to exempt. There's a lot more costs and time involved. And so if the goal is that we want to incentivize smaller in-scale development, that is why we were taking this approach. I did want to highlight, we did provide, one of your council members asked to see the full figure T1 in the comprehensive plan that includes minor collectors as well. So we did include that for your reference so that you can compare the two maps. We're happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay, Councilmember Boyce and Councilmember Michaud.
Thank you. This seemed pretty self-explanatory. Why we pull this here? Why we're not voting? Just curious.
To give us time for further questions.
Other questions? Okay. All right. I'm good.
Okay, Councilmember Michaud.
Thank you, Councilmember Larmer. Okay, so in this item, we are exempting from figure T1. Sorry, need to use the right words. Minor collectors are not included on this. And you are saying it is because you don't want to make people do exemptions. Can you give me an example of why someone would need to file for an exemption?
Sure. So we looked at various sites throughout the city where we either have had real conversations with customers who want to, residents, I should say, not customers, residents who want to add a duplex in the backyard or a single dwelling unit. And an example would be they live at the end of a cul-de-sac and there's no sidewalks anywhere on their road. And they're saying for the last 50 feet, you're going to, the city's current policy would make them construct sidewalk there. So that would be a reason why we would, if we had all of those on, we would be adding the requirement for that resident to, we'd say that likely makes sense not to require a sidewalk and all of the extra infrastructure improvements there. It would be a sidewalk to nowhere. It's not furthering any other connectivity goals that we've established, and it's adding substantially to the cost of the development without connectivity. And so that would be an example where we would be adding additional costs for someone to be exempt from that requirement.
Okay, but to be fair, I don't think any of the minor collectors are cul-de-sacs.
So if we're talking specifically about minor collectors, then there are instances, especially on the eastern side of the city, most of the Panther Lake and Lake Meridian area. If you think a little bit further than 132nd, it starts to get a little bit blurry on exactly where the line is. Those areas were developed under unincorporated rural standards, and a lot of them don't have sidewalks. And so for this area, those are larger lots. They're likely to have some redevelopment happen. Change is going to happen with these state laws. If we continue to require these infrastructure costs, we are concerned that there's going to be an aggregation of lots in order to spread that cost out. So in some areas, if we don't anticipate a lot of development happening along that entire block, but just a patchwork kind of I think of it kind of like a whack-a-mole where some of the lots have some infill development and some don't. We would say it may make sense to exempt it there because, again, we're balancing multiple objectives of trying to facilitate and incentivize. We don't have many tools to encourage the small scale development. We don't have money to buy out and to create this or to offset the costs. And so this is one of the tools. So it likely would be that we would exempt if there's no other connectivity of sidewalks in that area. And if we don't have planned projects coming in. Again, we do have the backstop of requiring that dedication and director's requirements.
I'm sorry. Troutner and then Fincher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So kind of thinking back to what the legislature did with all of these changes that we had to make, this gives, like you said, residents an opportunity if they want to put in an ADU or if they want to, build an additional property or building on their property, it makes it more affordable for them and allows them to move forward where that possibly would not happen. So is that kind of the example that you were speaking to as far as where this would be appropriate?
I think that's an example of, so the cost for infrastructure such that I think there was a slide previously that said if our goal is to incentivize this small infill for boomerang kids coming home or for truly to fit into our existing neighborhoods, the message that we're sending, thank you, through our existing policies, which were pre-state changing everything with middle housing, is opposite of that, saying really it incentivizes the larger development. And so we're trying to identify, I like to think of this a little bit as thinking through if you say you want to build 2 ADUs, the state has a law that says we can't require that infrastructure anyways. But if you say you want to come in and you want to build one 1,200 square foot home, we would say, thank you very much. In order to do that, our current policy says you need to add the $60,000 to $80,000 minimum cost of engineering construction, or I guess ask for this exemption or exception.
Thank you. I appreciate that clarification because I think that really helps because I do know of people in our community that are doing that, especially for, a family member that this is going to be their first home.
And I want to recognize it feels strange as someone who is an active transportation user who walks my dog in my neighborhood, who uses my neighborhood infrastructure. This is not saying we are not building sidewalks. It's saying we are being strategic in the infrastructure and what we have planned and aligning development with that. So we're not actively removing sidewalks and we're being strategic with our city resources.
Councilmember Fincher.
Thank you. So infill, I'm thinking it's filling in places in a neighborhood already existing. Now, is it possible that instead of just putting an ADU on a lot, there's several lots and this is the first building that's going to be there?
Yes.
So then it's possible you could have a string that has no sidewalks, no trees, and then is it a whole package deal, or do they then, is that like an a la carte menu?
Good question.
Yeah. What we've seen, and to kind of backtrack a little bit, in those instances where you've got a kind of a row of a lot of lots, usually it's high probability that's already a subdivision that's occurred, and more than likely that already required improvement projects for the subdivision process. For these lots where we don't require the subdivision, like Kristen was saying, if you've got one lot with one house and you've got another one that comes in on the next lot and you keep kind of piggybacking, I think there would be a point where, per the cities looking at that, we would then start reviewing if we would actually need those requirements. And that would be that kind of director's discretion to be like, after we're looking at this, all these are going to develop around the same time and build out. We're going to more than likely need something like that. So it could come into play based on the discretion of the director's decision on that, I would think.
There's also a specific provision that says if you're trying to game the system, so coming in and you're like, I did 2 units here, and then I'm going to do another 4 units, and then I'm going to do another 3, that will be viewed in its entirety. And so once you hit over 5 units or more, it triggers that requirement. So we did think about that because there are opportunities to game the system, and our intent was to block that from happening. So if it is larger development, they would still be required to build those infrastructure improvements.
All right, thank you.
So, let me ask it. Okay, so a couple of questions I have. I think one of my concerns is that when I look at this map, I see quite a few school walking paths that would be exempted. So that's one problem I have with this at this point. Also, you said we'd not be taking any sidewalks away, but this is also one of our few opportunities to get sidewalks built. And that's my other concern. Of the 60 to 80,000 in infrastructure costs, how much of that actually is the concrete for the sidewalk?
I can go look at the numbers. I think one of the things that we showed on one of the slides is it's not just concrete. It's moving curb lines, it's adjusting drainage. There's a lot of other things that are happening here. One of the things that we looked at for some existing sites, if we require the road to be widened, we actually take away parking that's on site. So even though we still would have maybe a parking or two on the street, we're actually removing the parking from the site as well. So we're trying to balance a variety of things. I can find the construction cost for concrete per square foot, but it's more than that. It's the engineering, it's the, there's more complex engineering because they have to tie in to infrastructure that's not up to current standards and doesn't have any plans on it right now. So there's transitional requirements. And there's a variety of other things, like it adds impervious surface, which would also then mean that the stormwater management could become more expensive. So it becomes this cascading effect. I already discussed affecting parking. So I can get back to you on that. My understanding, we'll do some research on this, but we would not be exempting. So one, per state law, really, we can only require the frontage improvements on that unit or that lot that's being built. It doesn't exempt us from the safe routes to schools requirements and requirements that would be associated with that. And that, again, our director's discretion would also make sure we'd be flagging for that in the review as well.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate those figures. Councilmember Michaud?
Thank you, Councilmember. So I just want to reiterate something that you said, and then I have a question. The state already exempts frontage improvements for 2 lots with 2 ADUs.
Yes, so 3 units total, primary unit plus 2 ADUs.
So you do not, in those circumstances, have to do the frontage improvements already.
Regardless of where they are, the city is not allowed to require that.
Yeah, okay, I wanted to make sure we all understood that.
Okay.
And then for what Councilmember Fincher was talking about, gaming the system, what if one person owns one lot and next door a relative owns that lot and then a different relative owns the next lot? Do we have any way to look at that?
The language is written so that we're looking at it. I mean, if they come in 15 years apart, that would be a very different conversation, but the language is written to look at it as projects that are happening in the same location. So it's not intended to exempt ways that people would game the system.
Gotcha, thank you.
Yeah, Councilmember Boyce.
Thank you. I mean, at the end of the day, to me, it's like kind of damn if you do, damn if you don't, right? Because they're encouraging us to do the Miller housing, right? But at the same time, you got to think about the people who are actually trying to build an infrastructure so people can have a place to live, right? You know, you want to be able to me, trying to offset that cost, you know, so it's kind of, you can't have your cake and eat it too, to how I look at it, right? So at the end of the day, for me, I think you want to try to do what you can to encourage those ADUs and those Miller houses to be able to, so people can have a place to live. I mean, that's what we're probably trying to solve. So I mean, that's kind of how I see it.
Councilmember Troutner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So going back to we pulled this for additional questions. Can we bring it back to vote on it if we agree? Or is there a timeline to make sure that we get this taken care of?
There's no state requirement. So this is a little bit also, I will say, I've heard that the state is looking at some mandates. So the sooner we act, I think it is the better, just in the sense of establishing what our policy is for Kent. But there is no requirement right now to do it. So we could come back for an action item at your December meeting if you'd like. We can work with Council President on that. Are you, I'm sorry, did I understand that question correctly?
I mean, I just didn't know if we all felt comfortable with this or if there were additional questions.
Ms.
Well,
Molly, yours.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable voting tonight, or my vote would be no tonight. So, I don't know, I mean, if Councilmember Troutner would like, I suppose you can make a motion to put it back on. Is that?
Well, we can bring it back, we can have a conversation on this and bring it back to our next meeting if we feel comfortable. But listening to everybody's comments, and I just want to say that state mandates, does not require frontage improvements for 3 units, and we're only adding 4 units. But if it's more than 4 units, then we would require frontage improvements. So something to think about. And if you look at throughout the city, we've seen some parcels that are, just in the middle of the street, there's no sidewalks and no other infrastructure. And then there's just one parcel in the middle who's probably building 2 homes or 3 homes or 4 homes there and requiring them to put a sidewalk in the middle there. It looks kind of interesting. So something to think about, I guess. But I would be comfortable voting on it myself whether we do it tonight or next meeting. I'm going to leave it up to my colleagues here.
And I think also, Council President, at the end of the day, we have always kind of been on the front end of what the legislature would do to us too, right? So to me, this is something I would support, right? I mean, because you just can't have it both ways, right? So I think the sooner we bring it back, the better.
Councilmember Fincher?
And that was all I was going to add. I'd rather bring it back because that whole package deal, we know how I am about trees. And so that also means fewer trees. I'm fine with that we're talking simply ADUs and simply adding in, but I'm concerned about that line going down the block. So I'd like to get some more information on that first. Thank you.
So, I'd prefer to bring it back in December for action. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, council members. And thank you, Kristen and Matthew. All right. Next, we have Parks, Councilmember Michaud.
Thank you, Madam President. All right, moving along. I have Brian Levenhagen here, our expert on this topic, to talk about public defense contracts.
Right. Thank you, Madam Chair, council members. It's good to be here tonight. I'm Brian Levenhagen, the Deputy Director of the Parks Department. I'm pinch hitting tonight for Lori Guilfoyle and Marina Hanson, who are both out sick today, unfortunately. I'm here to talk about 2 contract amendments for conflict indigent services, defense services contracts. So as you are aware, in June of 2025, the Washington State Supreme Court made an order that lowered the maximum number of cases that a public defense attorney could hear per year from 400 down to 120. And with that order, the court allowed it to be implemented over 10 years with as long as a 10% reduction happened each year. And so because of that, we needed to amend these contracts. The Valley Defenders contract, it gets extended for 1 year. We add the case standards language according to the Washington State Supreme Court order to that contract. And then we also needed to increase compensation to retain and recruit additional attorneys due to the increased demand created by the order. The Ross Law amendment, essentially the same things. That contract now has an end date of December 31st, 2026. We also add this case standard language that's mandated by the Supreme Court order, and then also had to increase compensation to retain and recruit additional attorneys. So with that, I will do my best to answer any questions.
All right, are there any questions for Brian for either of these contracts? Okay, go ahead,
Thank you,
Councilmember
ma'am.
Woods.
The budget impact only $2,000. That seemed very small.
Yeah, so the $100,000 is already budgeted for next year.
Okay.
And so that's why.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to read the first motion and then we'll just move on to the second one. I move to authorize the mayor to sign the First Amendment to the city's agreement with Ross Law, PLLC, for conflict Public Defense Services and to amend the budget as needed to cover the cost of this amendment, subject to final terms and conditions acceptable to the Parks Director and City Attorney.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. I move to authorize the mayor to sign the Fourth Amendment to the city's agreement with Valley Defenders, PLLC, for conflict public defense services and to amend the budget as needed to cover the cost of this amendment, subject to the final terms and conditions acceptable to the Parks Director and City Attorney.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you so much, Brian. All right, up next, we have Eric here from the golf course to talk about the golf cart contract.
Hi there. My name is Eric Henricks, Golf Course Manager. I'm here this evening to request authorization for the mayor to sign a lease agreement for a new fleet of power carts and maintenance vehicles with Peak Machinery and DLL Financing. Riverbend has chosen to continue leasing carts for a variety of reasons, inclusive of avoiding large upfront capital expenses and ensuring that we can maintain a modern, reliable fleet on a consistent replacement cycle, along with warranties for carts and vehicles. Our proposed lease agreement would be inclusive of 32 2026 Club Car Tempo Lithium Ion electric golf carts. These lithium batteries have longer battery life for consistent power, faster charging, lower maintenance costs, and are safer and cleaner. 40 2026 Club Car Tempo EFI gas-powered power carts. 2 2026 Club Car Carry All gas utility carts for our maintenance crew, and 1 Club Car gas range picker. Our decision to reduce the number of electric carts was due to a capacity issue. Currently, we have 36 carts in our electric barn, and ultimately, we don't have enough space. So we have chosen to reduce that from 36 to 32, while increasing the number of gas from 36 to 40. The proposed terms of the lease will be an estimated $452,000 and will run from 2026 through 2029, fully funded by the golf course. This is an increase of $119,000 or 35% over the last 4 years. This increase was expected due to the CPI-U increase of 24%. Our payment plan would be a 48-month skip series or 8 payments per year at an average of $14,125 per month. And over the last 4 years, our cart revenue has averaged $235,825. $235,825. So just over $235,000. Our golf cart operating revenue average from 2021 through 2025 has been just over $734,000, which very comfortably cover the term of that lease. With that said, any questions?
Okay, Eric. So that means we are making money on the cart rentals,
Correct.
right? Okay.
Correct. So
Okay.
just to clarify, we're paying essentially $119,000 per year. However, in revenue generated, it's just around $235,000
Okay.
per year.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Overall, for the last 4 to 5 years, our average operating has been just over $735,000.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Larmer has a question.
Yeah, so can you expand a little bit on not having room for the additional electric?
So as our business has grown, we have had to bring in multiple additional rental push carts, which will add to space that is needed to store those carts. And as of right now, the 36 carts that we currently have, they're very close contact, and some of them get damaged from time to time just based on the fact that we don't have enough space to move them in and out. And sometimes the charging stations can be a little bit difficult as well.
So I'm having a hard time, so I would think a golf cart, whether it's gas or electric, would take up the same space.
So gas carts, there are multiple different plugs that go into gas carts. And ultimately, as you are maneuvering carts around, sometimes when there's not enough space, these hanging cords can get caught and rip off of the wall, or in our instances, rip off of the roof and cause multiple different instances in which we just don't have enough space.
But you said I think maybe you just misspoke. Were you talking about the electric carts that have the cords and stuff?
So all of it's correct. So currently we have 36 electric carts, we're going to reduce that to 32, just based upon the fact that we don't currently have enough space.
But you're increasing the gas carts.
Correct. So the gas carts are stored in a separate area.
And the electric ones can't be stored over there.
Correct.
Okay. Are you?
Sorry for not clarifying that.
Are you good?
Yeah, I'm not loving it, but okay. Yeah, thank you.
Go ahead.
I'll need a new fancy one to keep me from driving on 2 degrees.
Yes, security has been an issue, hence why gas carts are more often than not easier to steal. So those are certainly more secure than they've ever been in the past as well.
That's good. Okay.
Councilmember Boyd? Oh, Fincher.
Did you have a question? Okay, so I am confused on the golf cart still too. So understand it takes the electrical unit to be able to charge it, the charging unit, and simply reconfiguring wouldn't help that situation out?
Negative. So within our storage cart area, there technically can we fit 36 carts in there? Yes, but as we've grown and as we have continually had to purchase additional rental push carts and so on and have additional supplies on site, that has minimized that space for us to be able to have a fully functioning electric fleet, thus in turn creating more chaos and more maintenance on the actual electric carts along with the chargers that are hanging off of the garage doors, or excuse me, off of the ceiling.
I think the point you might be missing, they got more, the push cart, those are the one that you actually
Yeah.
push. So that's taking up space.
So they are jamming in the electrical ones. Yeah, I get that. But even putting the push carts someplace else, I just need to be, my mind is not getting this right now. I need to go look at it and see.
You're not a golfer either, are you?
Correct.
So just to again clarify, what we plan on doing, just based upon the overall 4-cart reduction, that will give us an opportunity to reevaluate how we're going to create more of a functional space to have these electric carts and have it flowing more efficiently from our perspective from an operational standpoint.
Are the push carts electric?
Push.
Manual, you push.
Oh. But they can't go where the gas carts are?
It's push carts, it's janitorial supplies, it's all of the above. It's lost and found stuff from the public. It's just a very condensed space for that amount of electric cars.
So you're going to be looking at this to see what you can do. Is there a plan to electrify more of the fleet at some point?
Correct. So
And when is that?
Correct. So if we're able to move forward with this lease, and if this lease works the way that we think it could work, we then could potentially consider maybe reconfiguring the cart barn even further, maybe putting an addition on it to continually increase the amount of electric cars that we could house. But that would be 2 or 3 years down the line.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Didn't know this could be so complicated, did you?
What's that?
Well, I mean, you're getting rid of electric carts, but then getting more gas carts, so I get that, like, we want to have as many electric carts as we can, but this is how much room we have.
Correct. Currently, yes.
Any other questions? Okay. I'll read the motion. I move to authorize the mayor to sign all necessary documents to lease golf and maintenance carts from Peak Industrial Incorporated for a 4-year term through lease payments made to DLL Financing LLC, subject to final agreement terms and conditions acceptable to the Parks Director and City Attorney.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye, or nay.
Okay. All right, motion passes. Thank you so much, Eric. Back to you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember. Clarify, was the last year, were you?
I was a nay.
You were a nay, okay. All right. Okay, next up, we have Public Works, Councilmember Fincher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are going to hear from Ian Beckstrom, and this is going to be on the 2026 water treatment chemical supply. Back again.
Good evening, Council. She said my name's Ian Beckstrom, Utility Site and Process Control Manager at the City of Kent. Quick housekeeping item tonight. As Brenda mentioned, this is, disregard the error on the screen there. This is for the 2026 water treatment chemical supply contract with JCI Jones Chemical. They are our current supplier for chlorine gas and hydrogen, or sodium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide is used to balance the pH in our water system in order to keep it as neutral as possible per EPA standards. We use it at Pump Station 5 corrosion facility, East Hill Well, Two Toll treatment facility, and our Giberson corrosion facility. This balancing the pH creates a less corrosive water in the distribution system as well as in our customers' system and fixtures, and keeps us in compliance with the lead and copper rule. JCI Jones also provides chlorine gas for our Clark Springs, Kent Springs, Armstrong Springs, East Hill Well, and Seven Oaks sites. Chlorine is used to disinfect the water, killing germs, microorganisms, and also acts as a protective barrier from any recontamination while in the distribution system. That being said, I recommend that we move forward with awarding JCI Jones the 2026 water treatment chemical contract for a total of $184,116. Thank you. Any questions? I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Yeah. In that case, I move to authorize the mayor to sign a goods and services agreement with JCI Jones Chemicals, Inc., subject to final terms and conditions acceptable to the Public Works Director and City Attorney.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Passes. Thank you very much. And now we're going to hear from Cheryl Wilsick-Wilcox, who is going to tell us about an ordinance for combination property rights over on 224th for, from 99th to 108th. And we're going to hear more about that.
Hello, I'm Cheryl Wilsick-Wilcox. I'm Public Works Property and Acquisition Analyst, and I'm here to discuss this ordinance. In order to complete the South 224th Street Corridor Phase 3 from 99th Avenue South to 108th Avenue Southeast project, the city must acquire property rights from 25 property owners. And this is kind of the area where that's happening. The project will widen South 216th Street from 2 lanes to 3 lanes and includes the installation of concrete curbs and gutters, sidewalks, paved shoulders, street lighting, storm drainage, sanitary sewer, water main replacement, landscaping, and channelization. The project also includes a new roundabout at 100th Avenue South and undergrounding overhead utilities into a joint utility trench. My team and our project engineers have been communicating with impacted property owners, and we held a public meeting for the community at Panther Lake Elementary on August 13th, 2025. It's our hope to acquire the property rights needed from owners through direct negotiations. So filing a condemnation lawsuit, that would be an absolute last resort. In fact, we've already finalized acquisitions from 9 of the property owners and are in direct discussions with several others. Not all of the property owners have received offer letters quite yet. We're still in the appraisal process, but we expect to be making offers on those soon as well. If negotiations break down, way down the line, filing a condemnation proceeding may become necessary just to maintain project schedules. Having the condemnation ordinance in place at this time will reduce the time required to file condemnation proceedings later should it become necessary, and will allow additional time for negotiation efforts too. Notice of the council's anticipated consideration of the ordinance was mailed to the affected property owners and was published in the Kent Reporter and Seattle Times as required by state law. Just so you guys know, the stars up here, the green stars are the owners that we've already received signed documents from. And the blue ones are either haven't received an offer yet or haven't received an offer and we're having discussions with them. Or there's a couple we haven't heard from quite yet, but we're chasing them down. So are there any questions I can answer?
Questions from anyone? And this will be the final phase of getting all the way from military over to Benson. So glad to get this finished. Yes.
Cheryl, have we heard from any property owners, like public comment?
Not regarding this ordinance. We've heard we've spoken to them directly. We've spoken to many directly about the ordinance, exchanged messages. Our engineers have gone out to their properties, and we continue to make every effort to schedule meetings. In fact, there's some property owners here tonight, and I've spoken to one of them out in the hallway beforehand. And if anybody after I'm done here would like to talk to me, I'm available to speak as well.
Is everyone okay with this?
Well, it's the project. At this point, we're not filing any lawsuits.
Right.
So, nobody wants to hear the word condemnation ordinance. It sounds scary. And so we've tried to make sure that the property owners understand that we are not going to file any lawsuits unless all of our discussions completely break down. We don't like to do that.
Councilmember Bullock.
Yes, Cheryl. Correct me if I'm wrong, but condemnation, is that the same as eminent domain?
It is.
Okay, and just, you guys said, first of all, how long has this project been thought about? I mean, when did you guys start thinking about this?
This phase of it or the entire project?
This phase of it.
Well, we sent out our first offer letters in August. So I believe the property owners have known about it for a while because it's been climbing up the hill for quite a while. I think this has been ongoing planning for at least 20 years.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Director Barron is coming to the podium.
Regarding the question for how long they've known about it, the project was first proposed in 1984. It's been coming up on 42 years. And we put an EIS together, Environmental Impact Statement, back in 2007 and had a full process regarding that. So there's been a lot of discussion about the project for a number of years now.
Okay, the reason why I asked because I saw in here that the second property owner sent a statement out in the area.
Oh, yeah, there are standard notice. In terms of notification with the property owners and discussion, it's been ongoing for years.
Okay, thank you.
And that's what you meant by the project, keeping with the time on the project timeline. Any other comments or questions? Yes.
Thank you, Council Chair. Okay, so when was public notice sent out about this? Was there any public notice sent out prior to this October 30th about this project?
Well, about the project, yes. I mean, we did the open house. So everybody received a notice about the open house. All the properties affected received, I think that was in, August 13th was when we had that meeting, and it was at Panther Lake Elementary. So they've known about that their properties would be affected by this project for sure since then. The project itself, I know a lot of the property owners I've met and spoken to have said they've known about it for years. So.
How would they know about it?
Yeah, somebody could have moved in very recently, but folks who've been up there for a number of years. We had the EIS process goes through SEPA. There's public notice. We had public meetings around that process, and then we've had public meetings throughout the course of time between then and now. We had a number of times where we started on the next phase of planning the project. We didn't have this last basket of funding until the Move Ahead Washington Act came through session before last. So this last piece of it is getting serious. We're ready to build it year after next. So the section just prior to this, between 94th and 99th, very similar process that we went through, very similar to what we're proposing now. We did on that last section as we got federal grant, state grant for that section as well. So it's just our way of marching up the hill. So this very much comes under the heading of no surprises, but there's, with our public process, but there's also very much the
Other comments, questions? In that case, I move to adopt ordinance number 4531, authorizing the condemnation of property rights necessary to construct the South 224th Street Corridor Project Phase 3 from 99th Avenue South to 108th Avenue Southeast.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? And I'll reiterate that no property is being taken right now with this. This is in keeping with the timelines. The hope is that all of the negotiations with all of the neighbors will be completed satisfactorily. In that case, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. Thank you. We're going to now hear from Eric Preston about some speed limit changes. And one moment, please. Again, Cheryl is here in case anybody wanted to speak with her specifically about their property. Please continue, Eric.
Thank you very much. Council members, Council President. My name is Eric Preston, City Traffic Engineer. I'm here to present a speed limit resolution for your consideration. So the current speed limits were set by Resolution 2056 back in February of 2023, and we'd like to propose some updates for you. So an important reminder, all of the streets in Kent are not listed in the resolution because state law says that speed limits within cities default to 25 miles per hour. So only streets not posted 25 are listed. The authority of setting speed limits is given to the city traffic engineer through the city's adoption of the model traffic ordinance in Kent City Code 9.36, which references Washington Administrative Code 308-330. So the resolution here includes the following types of revisions: changes in land use or context, and changes based on engineering and traffic investigation. So let's take a look at these changes. We're proposing changes to 19 different segments, so please don't even try to read this map. It is very busy. This is all 19, but I'd like to review them piece by piece with you in three parts. First, we'll look at state routes, then the West Hill and the Valley, and then East Hill. So first, state routes. So in the upper left, you can see the long blue line. That's West Valley Highway, also known as State Route 181, which means the state is the final authority on setting the speed limits here. Current speed limit is 50 miles per hour in Kent. It is 40 miles per hour north in Tukwila. Lowering the speed limit to 40 as was discussed internally and with WashDOT, and they have agreed to lowering the entire 50 mile per hour zone to 40. This is from the north city limit at 180th Street all the way down to the 3600 block, which is just north of Caveman Kitchen. Most of the length of this road is 7 lanes with 3 lanes in each direction and a center turn lane. The change in speed will better match the traffic conditions with a high percentage of freight vehicles and also match the speed limits on the city's other 7-lane arterials like Pacific Highway and 84th Avenue South. Then next, we'll move to 104th Avenue, which is just the little, I had it for a minute, little red dot. That little section of 104th Avenue is also State Route 515. And so State Route 515 starts down at 256th Street. In that commercial area, it is posted 35. And then just north of the 240th commercial area, north of 235th, it transitions to 40 and has for many years. But we propose to move that point at which the speed limit changes from 35 to 40 north to a point about 900 feet north of 235th Street. So this change better reflects the traffic patterns north of the commercial area around 240th and it moves the speed limit change north of a proposed bus stop for Metro's Rapid Ride I-Line project, which will also have a flashing beacon in that area. All right, next, State Route 516. This is much more complicated and has multiple changes. Some are simple housekeeping, but most are bigger changes that I'll kind of go through you. So in your mind's eye, if you can start down here at Central Avenue, all right, and going east on Smith Street, the speed limit is 30 miles per hour. And as you work your way up the hill, just past Hazel, the speed changes to 40 miles per hour in Canyon. And then just before the signal at Kent Meridian High School, it drops to 35. And so this first change is that short red area right there. We propose moving that point at which the speed changes from 40 to 35 to a point 800 feet west of the signal, reducing the speed in the transition to the commercial area and matching the extents of Metro's I-Line frontage improvements in that area. And then moving, if we move east near 116th, you'll see the next little short red section on the map there. And so currently the, sorry, I just got lost in my notes. Currently at 116th Avenue, the speed limit changes from 35 to 45 at the intersection. But we propose extending that 35 mile per hour zone east about 630 feet to match the existing signing and reducing the speed in the intersection. And currently, at that same point, the speed limit on Kent Canely changes to 45 from here all the way to Covington. And so here we're proposing reducing that 45 zone to 40. You can see the long blue line from 40 miles per hour all the way to Lake Meridian. And that point at Lake Meridian is about 800 feet west of the park entrance, if you know where that is. So then at Lake Meridian, it would then transition to 35 miles per hour, the section in red to the right, through those apartments, commercial areas around 152nd Avenue, and the fire station all the way to the city limits with Covington, where the speed limit is currently 35 miles per hour. So before I move away from state routes, are there any questions? All right. So now we're going to look at the West Hill and the Valley. In the upper left, we have Riverview Boulevard in green. This section, Riverview Boulevard goes from south to 16th Street to Veterans Drive. The current speed limit is 35 with multiple curves. Lowering the speed limit has been requested by local residents, and our evaluation agrees lowering to 30 is appropriate for this major collector classification in context next to a residential neighborhood and with a neighborhood park. The current daily traffic is between 4,000 and 5,000 ADT. Then if you go down to the red section there, Military Road is currently listed at, posted at 40 miles per hour from 250th all the way to the south city limits at 272nd Street. The rest of Military Road to the north is 35 miles per hour within the city. There is pedestrian activity without complete sidewalks or shoulder walkways on this section, and the ADT is between 11 and 13,000 vehicles per day. Then moving down to the valley, the blue line that you see, West Valley Highway. So this is south of Willis. There's a few curves, residential driveways, multiple intersections. Currently, it's posted, again, in your mind's eye, currently posted 35 miles per hour south of Willis, from Willis to Frager, just across the river. Then it changes from 40, changes to 40 at Frager. And then at 261st, it changes again to 50 miles per hour. And so that's where this blue section is, in that 50 mile per hour zone. We want to lower that from 50 to 40 in this area. It is a mix of rural residential and agricultural area with Carpenito's brothers properties down there near the 277th signal. And then moving over to the right on Central Avenue south of Willis, the current posted speed is 30 miles per hour north of Willis and 40 miles per hour south of Willis, all the way to the south city limit at the Green River. And so we are proposing to extend the 30 mile per hour zone 1 block south of Willis to Russell Street to carry that 30 mile per hour zone through the horizontal curve. And then from Russell Street south, the speed limit would go from 40 to 35, all the way to the city limit. As you know, this area is a busy commercial industrial area with some freight traffic. quite a few driveways, but it does have continuous sidewalks on both sides. So now I'll move to the East Hill. So at the top, very top of your screen, in red, you see Southeast 192nd Street. So within the city limits between 108th and 124th, the current speed limit is 40 miles per hour, and we propose lowering this to 35. There is, again, pedestrian activity without complete sidewalks or shoulder walkways, and there is a portion of the Meeker Middle School walk route.
Councilmember.
To the middle of your screen, 100th Avenue Southeast, north of 240th. This is currently posted at 35, has been for many years, but over those years, the context has changed quite a bit.
Excuse me, we have a question?
Sure.
Sorry, thank you, Eric. Thank you, Councilmember. The one up there on between 108th and 124th on
192nd.
192nd. We can lower the speed, but there's no speed bumps or anything because we have heard from neighbors that it doesn't matter what the speed is, people will not respect that. So do we have consideration for maybe speed bumps or some other ways in the future we could lower the speed limit, but I don't know how we can.
Right, that is a challenge with just changing the numbers on the sign.
Yeah.
There will not be any speed bumps on an arterial street like that. But yeah, we are working with the police department on all of these changes. We've already taken them through them and they agree with them. And so I can't, speak for them, but they work with us closely when we get speeding complaints.
Yeah, specific that area up there is where I've heard a lot of complaints, so.
Okay.
That's a big hill, isn't it?
Yeah.
There is quite a big hill too.
Thank you. Something to keep in mind.
Absolutely, thank you. All right, so, okay, back to 100th Avenue there in the middle of your screen. Currently, north of 240th, that is posted at 35. And context has changed quite a bit over the years. It's now very residential. You have Turnkey Park. You also have the walk route for East Hill Elementary School. Lots of pedestrian activity without complete sidewalks or shoulder walkways. We are proposing to lower this to 30 between 240th and 224th, which is an all-way stop. That's the green section. And then north of 224th in the gray section on that same line, we're proposing lowering that to 25 north of 224th, because in that gray area, it's essentially a dead end. You can get back to 224th and get out of the neighborhood. Yeah. Next, we'll move over to the red line on 240th. Sorry. So between 116th and 137th, this is the only section of the James 240th corridor that is 40 miles per hour. We're proposing to reduce this to 35. There are bike lanes in both directions. Sidewalks are at the back of curb, and we have a commercial area near 132nd with multiple access points. Next one, 104th Avenue in the lower left in green, starting at 256th and going all the way down to 272nd. The current posted speed is 35. We're proposing to lower this to 30 miles per hour due to the pedestrian and commercial activity north of 267th and increasing residential development south of 267th. Then if you move to the right, to the east a little bit, the next green line there is 114th Avenue. This is south of Kent Kingley. The current speed limit is 35. We propose lowering this to 30. It is a minor collector and very, very residential. And quite low volumes between 1 and 2,000 ADT. Then next to that, in the short little red line, is 116th Avenue. And this is currently posted at 40 miles per hour south of Kent Kingley and 35 miles per hour north of Kent Kingley. So our investigation concluded that extending that 35 mile per hour zone south of the intersection through the apartments and commercial area was suitable. So this would extend the 35 zone south about 600 feet south of the intersection. Then to the far lower right in green, we have 144th Avenue Southeast, south of Kent Kingley, from Kent Kingley to 288th, which is the city limit. Currently posted 35, proposing to lower it to 30 miles per hour due to increased residential development and the presence of Horizon Elementary School. again, more pedestrian activity without complete sidewalks or shoulder walkways in this area. So that's all I have for you. I am available for questions.
Questions, comments from anyone? Yes.
So when does all of this supposed to take effect? When are the signs going to be posted for the speed reducement?
Yeah, the signs would start being posted early next year. We would start with the state routes. Yeah.
Starting with the state routes?
Yeah.
Okay. And will they be like, will they have extra patrol cars out monitoring the speed limits?
I can't guarantee that, but we can coordinate with the police.
Okay, because I thought you said you were coordinating with them right now.
Yeah. Yes, we coordinate with them on when we get a request or a complaint about speeding or racing or something like that.
Okay, so no traffic cameras or nothing like that that you know of then? Okay.
We're not adding cameras.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Don't they typical when they change those speed limits, don't they, there's like a time period, right, where they kind of notice you're not going to get a ticket in that day, right? So a typical, in some areas I've seen they got a little flag to let you know the speed limit has been
Yes, when they change, we will also put little flags on the signs to give a heads up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Councilmember? Did you have a question?
My question was, how do we communicate the change? And you just, I think, answered that you do
There'll be
flags.
the orange flags or little diamonds on the sign, right, for several weeks.
How long has it been since we changed the speed limits? We lowered them on Pack Highway. Has that been over a year?
It has been just over a year. Yes, it's approximately a year.
Could we get some,
It was late 23, I'm sorry. So it's been almost 2 years.
okay, could we get some data on the effectiveness on that, collisions, what difference we're seeing, if we are seeing any difference?
Yeah, I don't have it off the top of my head.
No, I know. And I will have to come back and listen because I won't be sitting here. But thank you very much. So in that case, if there are no more questions, I move to repeal resolution number 2056 and adopt resolution number 2100, updating the reasonable and safe maximum speed limits on certain designated streets as posted by official traffic control devices pursuant to Chapter 9.40 of the Kent City Code.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. And our last one, we have Tony Donati coming forward about our annual solid waste rate adjustment.
Thank you, Madam Chair, council members. It's a pleasure to be here with you all this afternoon. My name is Tony Donati. I'm a conservation coordinator here in the Public Works Department. Today I'm going to brief you very quickly on our 2026 annual solid waste rate adjustment. For those who are unaware, our rates that we pay on our garbage bill are broken into two components. We have the disposal component, which is controlled by King County, and then the collection component, which is controlled by our contract with Republic Services. In accordance with the solid waste contract with Republic Services, the collection component of our rate is allowed to adjust annually for inflation based on 3 standard Department of Labor Puget Sound price indices. We have CPI, wages, and natural gas fuel for trucks used here in Kent. The disposal rates are allowed to adjust annually for inflation based on King County's tipping fee and then the change in their fixed annual charge. So a fact about the fixed annual charge, Kent is King County's largest garbage producer, mostly thanks to our large industrial area. However, tonnage has actually dropped the last 3 years. So that's directly impacted our rates in a good way, because the less tonnage we have in our system, the lesser the rate. And it's a small portion of the fixed annual charge, but it helps. So anything we can do to utilize the recycle and food and yard waste more, that's businesses, residential, directly helps. So on January 1st, 2026, both residents and businesses should expect to see a slight increase to their garbage rates. And this is just a reminder, our residential rates include your garbage service, your recycling, and your food and yard waste. This is a great service that we have with Republic. You fill up your cart, bring it to the curb, they remove it, and it's, gone. So it's really great. We also have incentive-based rates where the smaller your can is, the lower your rate. And then despite the increase, Kent still really enjoys some of the lowest rates in the area and King County when you're comparing. It's hard to compare apples to apples, but we do enjoy some of the lower rates in the area that have all three services. So with that, I'll let you know too, one thing, these are the rates before any taxes and fees and stuff like that. So these are the base rates that we'll see there on January 1st. And with that, if anyone has any questions, they can reach out directly to me or call the number on your bill with Republic Services. So with that, I'll take any questions from you all too.
Anyone? Thank you very much, Tony. That was information only. No vote is required. So that is it for us, Council President.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Councilmember Fincher. With that, we are adjourned. We'll take a 5-minute break and be back here for our council workshop. Thank you. Good afternoon. Welcome to Kansas City Council Workshop for Tuesday, November 18, 2025. We have 2 items on our agenda, and first up, we have Rediscover Downtown Plan Update, and we have Caroline Eckel. Welcome.
Hello. It's good to be back with you. We are excited to come back and update you on some of the work that we've been doing on the downtown plan. So for today, we're going to walk you through a few things. I'm going to remind you of some of the goals that we brought to you last time, and talk to you a little bit about the urban design framework, which you all saw the early stages of. We've gone through many iterations, and we'll show you where we've landed as of today. And we'll talk about some implementation strategies for achieving some of the goals in our plan, and talk about your priorities, some of the things that you think we should focus on first. And then we'll talk about next steps. So just as a reminder of some of the things that we did here as we started our plan, we know we've heard a lot about public safety. We've heard a lot about, wanting to see more things to do downtown, more businesses, more activity downtown. These are the underlying desires from the community and from our Land Use and Planning Board. And as we spoke with you last time, these are the things that we've heard. So building on what we heard, we developed a set of goals. Our first goal is really about identity and placemaking. We have a goal that's really focused on living downtown, creating a vibrant, mixed income, intergenerational neighborhood in the downtown area. We also have a goal for supporting small and local businesses and a variety of sizes of businesses in the downtown to really make sure that economic development opportunities are open to everyone. We discussed our approach to the environment and equity and how we will embed those goals throughout the strategies in the plan. We talked about transportation and connectivity, which is a key piece of what we have discovered will be really important for making downtown work going forward. And then we have a goal for infrastructure and coordination, in particular among our staff and our departments within the city, to make sure that we can achieve the goals in our plan. So building on that, we have an urban design framework. This has been developed really in close coordination with all of our staff. In particular, Public Works and Parks have really worked closely with us to think about the feasibility of what we have included in this framework. We've worked closely with our community members and our advisory group, and the Land Use and Planning Board has also weighed in. So we feel confident that this will give us sort of a good framework for the physical improvements that we hope to see as part of the plan. So to begin with, I'll walk you through this urban design framework, and then we'll jump into some of the implementation strategies that coordinate with this. So first, we want to recognize that our downtown in particular has a unique set of assets that we have to work with. One of those, chief among those, I would say, is the park system. We have a diverse range of parks, and we know we also have some upcoming opportunities to improve some of these park facilities. And so we want to make sure that in our planning efforts, we're really accounting for the things that are happening in our parks and the things that will be happening. We also recognize the abundance of work that's been done in the downtown, Meet Me on Meeker being kind of one of those prominent pieces, but Parks and Public Works have and will continue to have a number of projects underway in the downtown. These are critical for us to look at and consider as part of this plan, and to highlight and dovetail the work that we're doing with all of this that's already happening. These are just a few of the projects and plans that we have wrapped in and looked at as part of our downtown planning effort, and it's really helped to inform where we've landed. So one of the key pieces of the urban design framework is this concept of a destination street. Meet Me on Meeker is certainly a good example of what we envision for the concept of a destination street. We also have heard strongly about this need to connect some of our destinations through the downtown, so Showware, Kent Station, and the historic core of the downtown in particular being really important to help people know where to go and how to explore those areas. And so we hope to tie streetscape improvements and other kinds of physical improvements in the built environment to help people navigate these key destinations. These are just some concept images, some precedent images from other places that kind of influence how we're thinking about these spaces. A prominent piece, which we recognize is also a very complex piece, is Central Avenue. We have heard again and again how important Central Avenue is to the downtown. Right now, as you drive along Central, you don't necessarily know of everything that's in the downtown. And so we want to make sure that as people are traveling across and along Central Avenue, that they recognize that they're in the downtown, that there's a clear sense of place, and that they know where to go and how to get into the downtown. And so we're looking at a set of improvements to that streetscape and that pedestrian environment over time. Some of these will be short-term, some will be longer-term because of the complexities of right-of-way along Central Avenue. Next, we're looking at opportunities to connect our park amenities. Some of these are already funded or underway to study and explore how these connections can be made. And we feel like these will be opportunities to also enhance bikeability and walkability, not necessarily on right-of-ways, but we'll explore different paths that could be taken to connect these different destinations in our parks facilities. And then layered over that, we are looking at both existing multimodal streets, areas where we have bike lanes, for example, and then some of those areas that we could look at for future evaluating future multimodal and pedestrian improvements to better connect this network of streets. And then finally, the last layer of the urban design framework is really looking at wayfinding, signage, gateways, lighting treatments, and art that can be used to help people navigate the downtown, to come into the downtown from both 167, James, Central Avenue, Meeker. These are really key right-of-ways, and we want to make sure that people know how to come into the downtown and find their way around. And so we're looking at a set of different types of interventions to help us do that. So in combination with this built environment strategy, this urban design framework, we are also looking at some potential implementation strategies. To walk you through what some of these might look like, I'll emphasize that a lot of these strategies, we're grouping them together to help us think through and connect to some of the specific goals that we have in the plan. But a lot of these strategies help us approach and achieve multiple goals. So chief among them, we recognize that we want to promote development downtown. In particular, we know that we need a greater mix of housing in the downtown area. We recognize that there are vacant and underutilized properties, How do we approach those properties, and what do we hope to see there? And we know that there is greater opportunity to expand tax generating uses in the downtown area to also support the services that we want to provide in the downtown and throughout Kent. So we're looking at kind of a set of strategies to promote development through public-private partnerships and other kinds of development tools. So the second set of strategies that we'd like to bring to you for consideration at this stage has to do with strategies that would help us achieve greater public safety. So we know that we need to continue to advocate at both state and regional levels for tools and resources that will help us do that. Code enforcement, finding some creative ways to use vacant and underutilized land, but also, and maybe one of the strongest tools that we have is activation. As we bring more people downtown, as we have more events, as we have more businesses in the downtown, the more we can get that ball rolling, it will feel like a safer place for everyone. Another really important thing that we have discovered through this process is that the downtown has some unique economic development opportunities. If we look at it, especially in comparison to the Industrial Valley, you have smaller spaces, you have very affordable rent leases compared to many places in South King County and throughout King County. And we have some really amazing cultural anchors. And so how can we build upon those with business incubation, some pop-up markets or other transitional uses that could be considered for vacant spaces while we're waiting for development to occur. And so we're trying to think creatively about how to market and approach economic development specific to downtown and some of these smaller scale, in some cases, historic properties. We also know that connectivity is key. So we've heard from everyone about the need to accommodate all modes of transportation, people walking, biking, transit, people traveling by car. We want everyone to be able to come into and find their way around the downtown. This is going to take a really holistic effort to look at parking strategies, to look at signage and wayfinding, specific streetscape improvements, right-of-way improvements, and again, our Public Works and Parks team have really helped us think through what might be practical and what things might need further assessment in order for us to implement. And then one that I'm pretty excited about is something that really sets Kent apart from other places in our region. Is that we do have this unique opportunity to be a regional destination for culture, cuisine, shopping, and community events. We have some amazing artistic and cultural resources in Kent. And so creating a hub for those things to occur in the downtown, I think, is a really interesting approach that we can hone in order to accomplish the goals in our plan. And then we know that as we've tried to coordinate and work very closely with staff over the last couple of months, we recognize that capacity is key in order to keep the ball rolling, to keep momentum going. So we know we need funding strategies that we'll need to continue to pursue and advocate for. Just coordinating among staff. Again, different departments have different projects going on, making sure that all the departments are weighing in and collaborating on the pieces that are needed. And then partnership development, looking at opportunities to partner with other nonprofits and private partners in order to get some of these strategies off the ground. These things are going to be really important. And so one particular approach that we're considering and could look at further would be to have a downtown program manager to help us specifically implement this plan. And so that would be a way for us to tie together all of our implementation strategies and keep that evaluation process going as we implement the plan. So we'd love to hear from you. We have a handful of questions we'd love to know. First, as you look at the urban design framework, are there things that are missing? Are there things that we've overlooked? We've gone through a number of iterations, and we want to make sure that we've not lost something that's important. And so we want to know if there are things that you see that you would like for us to wrap back in, or that you think are important that we've missed.
Thank you, Carolyn. Councilmember Larmer.
As far as anything missing, I think, nothing's jumping out at me. And I'm actually I really appreciate this visual. It's very helpful to see the direction that I'm going. Yeah, I think I like what I'm seeing very much. I also just want to kind of support you guys in general and relevant with your staff for a while. So we want to see these dramatic transformations.
Right. I like the direction I'm going. I like what I'm seeing on paper. Nothing is jumping out at me as missing. And I do think I fully support an additional program manager, because I think if we want these kind of transformational changes, it's going to take more staff time. So good job.
All right. Any other comments? Councilmember Boyce.
Yeah, I just want to go to record also. I mean, I don't see anything missing. I'm very excited about this here. And I thought when we first started Meet Mill Meeker, just how that turned out to be such a pretty good destination. So I like the direction we're going. And I will assume that we do have a Kent Downtown Partnership Organization. So I'm assuming this part-time person will work closely with that Kent Downtown Partnership as well, too, as a partner. So I do like the direction.
Excellent. Yeah.
Councilmember Troutner.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you for mentioning Kent Downtown Partnership as chair of that board this year. I know that you've been working closely with them and getting feedback, and I think it's about all of the relationships that we have and working with those groups in our community to develop this plan, and you're doing a great job doing that, so thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Fincher.
I'm going to jump on that same bandwagon, and I especially appreciate because you are embedding health equity and, I have a cough drop, health equity and sustainability. So looking at all of that, looking at the full picture for both our city and our residents and businesses. So great work you guys have been doing there.
Thank you, council members. Any other comments? All right.
Okay.
Next.
That sounds good. I did have one other question. If there was anything that you saw today that you feel like should be highest priority, or something that you feel like could be an early win that we should really put up front in this plan, that would really help us make sure that we're, prioritizing these strategies.
I'm not sure if it's an early win or what is, but working with Lobbying Tax Advisory Council and Kent Downtown Partnership, trying to bring in more people more bodies to downtown Kent, I think would be something to be worked on in the meantime while we're working on putting it all together. But I'm very excited. I'm very excited to see what will happen here. So thank you for all the work you have put in here. And with that, Councilmember Larmer, followed by Councilmember Troutner.
Okay, my mic is on. I would say as far as, maybe first things to tackle, I like the destination street that connects Showware to Kent Station and historic downtown, simply because I think if we made that our first priority, it might be a good way to increase sales tax receipts. I think, being able to connect to all of that without needing to move your car, I think would have some great benefits. So that's where I would personally think maybe we start.
Councilmember Troutner.
Thank you. I think we're all saying things that are very important. I like what we're doing with our parks, especially in downtown. You talked about when you bring people downtown and there's people out walking around, it's going to attract less people doing the wrong things. And so I think that those improvements to our parks are really going to bring people downtown. What we're going to do with Town Square Plaza, all of those things, I think are huge improvements.
Councilmember Boyce, did you have something? Okay, Councilmember Michaud.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, like Councilmember Larmer was saying, that connection between Showware and Kent Station and downtown, I think, is vital. Something simple that doesn't cost as much as some other things will cost. Wayfinding signage, so you know how to get from Showware to downtown. I think those are easy wins.
Yeah.
Councilmember Boyd.
Yes, I like the part about you're encouraging entrepreneurship and attracting new investments. I mean, it's good to have new small businesses come in. You know, because that builds our downtown, and that makes people want to come see new stores and walk around and compare. I like that idea.
Any other questions or comments? Councilmember Fincher?
Thank you. Again, back with goal number 4, mixing in with a couple of others and letting people know what we actually have here, what's already here. So not only for the people who we're bringing into the city, and the lodging tax committee has done a good job with that, you know, in some of the grants that they've given, but also for the people who live here. I talk to people who live here who don't know many of the things that we have right here.
Councilmember Larmer.
Yeah, so just one last comment, I think, you know, on the wayfinding, to make sure that I think if we could emphasize the downtown, the historic part, because I think, you know, Showware is pretty easy to identify. You see Kent Station. I wonder how many people actually realize that there's a whole nother business district that we have. So that would be a priority for me as well.
All right. Those are good comments.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. We really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Caroline. Looking forward to what we come up with. All right, next up we have GIS update, and I see Heath Brackett's here, possibly with the whole team. All right, welcome.
Madam President and council members, it's great to be back here again. When I was here in July, you were asking a lot of questions about, you know, what are the other departments doing with GIS? So I brought the GIS family with me. So I have Cassidy Sawyer with Parks, I have Dan Blinko with ECD, and I have Philip Johnson with Police. So together we're going to present on everything that's going on within GIS. So GIS adoption and use across the city continues to grow. You may not know, but we have 15 at least GIS applications that are public facing right now. Most of these are just embedded right inside the city's website. So, you know, departmental groups, if we've created something for them, we'll just embed that right in there. So when the public's trying to get information about, you know, work programs and things like that, those applications and GIS maps are built right in there. We also support and maintain the GIS integrations with internal city business systems. Right now we have 5 integrations that are currently active, and we're working on 2. One is MS Forefront. It's our new NPDS replacement software. That's going to go live next year. And then the other integration we're working on is the integration with Amanda, which is our permitting system. And we're hoping to get that integration live next year as well. And we anticipate that every new business system that comes online is going to have a GIS component to it. So we see this continued growth coming for the foreseeable future. This graphic that you see right here shows that between 2020 and 2025, our GIS usage has grown by over 400%. We see that trend just continuing at the same rate, if not even greater. So Public Works GIS and IT put together a plan to rebuild our GIS infrastructure so that we're prepared for this future growth. We put that plan together. We identified that there were a few components of that plan that we weren't going to be able to execute ourselves. So we secured a contract with Esri, our software provider for all of our GIS, to help us get that across the finish line. I'm happy to announce that the project was complete this summer, on time, under budget. We saved about $10,000 on that contract as well. So now we're set up to begin getting more of these integrations going. I'm going to provide you a quick Public Works GIS update. You heard from me just a few months ago, and then I'm going to hand it off to everybody else. But this is year one of our new aerial imagery contract that was flown in April and May of this year. They delivered it to us in October. My staff took some time to just kind of validate that, verify that it was accurate, and we published that out just last week. So now that's available to all city staff, and it's available in all of our GIS applications as well. We've continued to build upon the CityWorks integration that we already have. If you don't remember, CityWorks is our asset management system for the city, so our utility assets are what are tied into CityWorks. So now the work activities that Public Works operations staff do is they record information on that work activity. Some of that information is pushed directly into the GIS so that we can consume that high-level information in other applications, or we can allow program managers that don't regularly use CityWorks to visualize that information that's going to help them make decisions. There's two examples here. We're beginning to upgrade our water meters with radio read water meters so that our meter readers can more quickly and efficiently read these meters. And so as those new water meters are being installed, that information is being pushed into GIS so we can map and show you the locations exactly where these radio read meters have been installed. And then we are also capturing the information in GIS for when an asset was last inspected or it was last maintained. And so the bottom example helps to show where our NPDES programs catch basin inspections have been happening, so we can see where the gaps are, because we need to inspect a certain number of catch basins each year, and so we can quickly digest this, and the program managers can plan accordingly. And now I'm going to pass it off to Cassidy.
Hello, I'm Cassidy Sawyer. It's nice to be back. I want to refresh your memory on the work that I do for parks and then jump into something new. We're in the process of finalizing the Parks and Facilities Guide. It's our brochure that was last updated in 2017. I maintain the asset management system as we renovate and create new parks. I create digital workflows for park operations staff, and I also support main track and continue to analyze park ops time. I manage park stormwater inspections and cleanings for the NPDES permit for the park side. I create maps for wayfinding signage, council presentations like this, and grants. And last but not least, I create applications for internal and external use, which takes us to the Kent Valley Loop Trails, or the KVLT. We're in phase 2 of this project, and it's about updating the original plan and increasing user experience. We've added 2 new trails, the Otter and the Bear, for a total of 7 different loops. We also updated wayfinding signage along the trails. The photo on the left up there is just one of the many new bollards that we have out there for trail users to navigate all the different loops. There are also kiosks and newly updated KVLT maps that are scheduled to be installed shortly in coordination with our park ops staff. I've also been in coordination with the Public Works GIS team on establishing metadata standards around externally published data, like the app I'm about to show you. We went into what's included in our metadata so that all of our Kent data looks the same and you can tell that it's coming from a trusted source. My app was internally reviewed by the team before publishing to make sure that these standards were met. So now what I'm really excited to share is the KVLT navigation application. It's a website that you can use on your computer, phone, or tablet. There was a little splash screen that describes how to use the map tools. I've included a location tool so that users can see which loops are closest to them or while they're on the trail to help them stay on track. On the side or the bottom is a list of the trails with information including distance and some conditions of the trails. You've seen that once a loop is selected, the other ones disappear. More than one trail can be selected at a time, although I didn't show that here. You can see that when we zoom in, there are different amenities that one might need to comfortably enjoy the trail, like a drinking fountain, a restroom, or a parking lot. You can turn these on and off in the map layers and much more. So this app is now available to the public online, so you can scan that QR code and go take a look. Thanks. And I'll pass it off to ECD.
Thanks for having me here. Excuse me. I'm Dan Blinko, ECD's GIS and data analyst. Today I'd like to kind of tell you what I do for ECD, but first, starting with a little bit of context, ECD didn't have a dedicated GIS analyst until 2023. And so in the past 2 years, there's been a bit of a transition of how ECD leverages GIS. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about both what the purpose, what GIS does for ECD, primarily two things. We have internal analysis that furthers our own and enhances our own decision making. And then we have external or public facing sharing of information that GIS both enables. I'm hoping to bring forward a few examples for you today to show that. Overall, what the embedded position has done for the department, adding GIS staff like myself or Cassidy, and I know police has one on the way, it does increase the overall capacity for the city to do this work. And it also, being embedded in the department, makes the departments a little bit more agile and independent in what they're able to tackle with their own staff. For the planning and permitting side, the examples I'd like to show improve service delivery. We're communicating big policy changes. We've always published a zoning map. That predates me. It's been done for decades. But some of the newer things that we're able to do are making specific applications, public-facing applications that explain more complex code changes. The example I'll bring up is a recent one with Recode Kent, which was a code revision that allowed increased housing density, amongst other things. And where those increases were allowed had a spatial relationship to assets like major transit stops as well as zoning. And so these things can get a little bit confusing for members of the public, even pros like developers, to learn where in the city can they achieve these higher densities. And with the help of the long-range planning staff and lots of iterative processes, we were able to create an application where you can look up by parcel or address where a property may qualify for these increases. I understand that the long-range planning team presented this at a conference, and a couple of the other cities were a little bit jealous of what we were able to provide for our public. Second, hopefully folks are familiar with the Build Kent application. That's been around for a little while. It also predates me in this position. It was created Public Works GIS a few years ago. Reason I want to bring it up, it's an application that does show active development projects and serves as a public notice tool. But in terms of our interdepartmental work that we do, Heath and his team actually brought forward that the platform where the application resides was going to be sunsetted, meaning it would no longer be supported. And so Heath and his team volunteered to take the existing application and work with our staff to refresh it, better in line with more contemporary policies, as well as bring it onto the new platform so it could continue in service. So we very much appreciate our relationship with Public Works GIS and all of our other counterparts here. Beyond planning and permitting, I'd also like to talk about some of the internal things from the economic development angle. In the lower left, you'll see, it's kind of hard to see on this collective slide here, but that's a map of census tracts, and the analysis that we performed was searching which census tracts may be eligible in 2026 for Opportunity Zone funding. This was a continued program that was approved earlier this year federally, and traditionally, like during the last round, many years ago when the first set of opportunity zones were nominated, our department kind of had to rely on external sources to produce this information, to perform the analysis. And I'm not saying this is the cause, but Kent actually wasn't awarded any opportunity zones during the first round. What we would like to do this time is be very prepared to lobby for the appropriate tracks in the city. And what having this type of analysis does is it gets us in front. I know from talking to Bill and the folks that use this that most cities are not tracking or kind of waiting for that support, whereas we can jump ahead, do it ourselves, and make sure we're well positioned to argue for which of the tracks in Kent are most deserving of that nomination. Another marketing tool that I'd like to share in terms of economic development is the bigger map in the upper right of all of the aerospace and advanced manufacturing companies that operate in the Kent Valley. As far as GIS things goes, this is one of the most basic things we can do, which is just putting a bunch of features on a map. But this very basic thing that, again, I believe we may or may not have been able to tackle this in previous years, but it demonstrates the depth and diversity of the manufacturers in the valley. It serves as a key attraction tool for companies that are looking to come in the area and are in the site selection process. It also serves as a retention tool for companies that may not know what cool businesses were operating down the street. I would say it's our most requested product, and when we go out and share it, we're usually get at least 5 requests at the event. Hey, can I get the file? And in fact, a copy of it is hanging proudly in the Museum of Flight. They enjoyed it so much. So we love to use GIS to make these kinds of products wherever we can see fit, and tell everyone how great the city is. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. I was told that you guys had questions in regards to what the police department does with GIS a few months back. I drew the short stick, so you get me today. I am not a GIS analyst. I don't know much about it, but what I do know is that we have a lot of technological platforms that does have a component of GIS, and I definitely know how we leverage that for our community to deter crime, to solve crime, and to do the things that we have to do on a daily basis. We do that the same thing, both externally in regards to helping out the community, but we also utilize GIS components to deal with the internal aspect, to find efficiency, find our blind spots, and try to correct those things so that we can better serve the community and stuff. I do need to talk about it, and he just hit on it, that we do have a data analyst position, and when that position is filled, that works in our group. When that position is filled, their job is essentially to assist us with gathering internal data about the overall functions within the police department to help us to get better. And when we had that filled, one of the key components, especially dealing and working with Heath, is we found that position needs to be identified and established as our point of contact with the GIS folks. We found instead of trying to reinvent the wheel to develop our own analysts to do that type of work, it's much easier just to leverage the work that's actually going on and partnering with Heath's group doing that, and it worked very well while we were doing it. We just spent all day today doing interviews for that position. We have another 2 days to go, and I was very nervous that we were trying to find that person to hire, and now I'm really excited because I'm looking forward to hiring somebody out of that group. Hopefully by February, I'll get that done. But without ado, in regards to the stuff that we do use on a daily basis, there's just a couple different slides. The one on the bottom left is our SafeCam registration program. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but basically it's residents that are voluntarily registering with the PD, disclosing where their private security cameras are and stuff. So when we do have a crime or an incident that happens, the police department knows exactly where those are registered. We can reach out directly to the residents and save time and develop those relationships to see if they'll share us with the digital evidence that might be on their private security cameras. When you talk about GIS, basically, traditionally with law enforcement, you think of a heat map, and that's in the top right. That's essentially taking the data that we normally collect through our RMS system, or I'm sorry, a records management system, things of that nature, computer-aided dispatch or CAD, and overlaying it with GIS to kind of show the frequency of whatever measurable variable that we're actually looking at. Right here, that could be calls for service, that could be case reports that were taken. And what it does is it gives us the intelligence piece that we need to know what's going on in the community and have a big global view of everything that's happening so that we can designate staff, resources, things of that nature to either A, deter crime, B, solve serial crime, or whatever else is going on or plaguing our community at that time. Something that Heath's group helped our department with that I should touch on is they liaisoned with Puget Sound Fire and gave us access to their apartment maps. And so now we have visual representations of our large apartments. I think schools are on there. And what that does is it shows the ingress and egress points of how to get onto the property, where the doors are on the buildings, where the buildings are located. And if you could think about our officers when they go and they get dispatched to these in-progress calls, they would need to know those type of information, especially if whatever situation they're dealing with is in the B building and it's on the second floor. Well, knowing where that door is on that building prior to arriving is really beneficial on being able to deal with the situation, but also being safe. And then if you think about command staff, if there's some sort of command post, having that visual representation sitting in front of you while they're listening to the radio and the officers are giving updates, it really gives them a visual picture of exactly what's going on during those calls for service. So Heath's group allowed us or helped us get access to that. Speaking of another thing, tomorrow, with our computer-aided dispatch, Valleycom's switching over to Versaterm. So I'm sure most of you have done ride-alongs and you see how officers go out and they have a list of calls on their screen. Well, this is flipping over to a GIS component to where now they have the ability to have a map on their screen, and when the doc comes up and they're close by, they can go ahead and get dispatched those calls. Please don't ask me questions about CAD right now because I don't know, because I have not even signed up to get into it, but that's starting tomorrow. Another one at the bottom is, you've probably seen that photo before of our soda zones. So that's the same concept, taking GIS with the frequencies of drug-related offenses to help that as a foundation for legal to draft that ordinance so that it could be put in front of you to vote on whether or not we would implement something like that. Another one that I forgot to talk to Heath about putting on there is our Survey 123 app. That is, if you remember a few years back where we found that we have a blind spot in regards to our data collection. Law enforcement in general does. This Survey 123 app was developed by Eric Doherty, Officer Doherty, in coordination with our GIS folks. And that survey is essentially something that we use when a case report isn't taken, a field interview card, or whatever you want to, any type of documentation that we would traditionally do, that this is actually documents the contact in itself, like why did it happen, especially if it's an on-view contact, the demographics of the individual that they stopped, what transpired, did they have probable cause, was it a social contact, and so now we collect that data, and that was helped out through Heath's group. Oh, I did it right. Okay, so I did want to put this up here because this is something that just recently happened. As you know, we signed a contract with Axon, and Axon pretty much runs everything that we do, to include our now records management system, and that went live in June. We'd spent 2 decades with Tiburon, and Tiburon was literally just a data entry field of everything. Well, now Axon actually does a lot more to that. We have the same concept of officers putting in data, but it has an analytics to it as well. In order to make a heat map, we had to have a data analyst pull the data out of Tiburon, make it digestible, and then throw it up on the map. Now, Axon, when an officer fills out a case report, as the data is going in, it gets uploaded directly there, and it eliminates the red tape in regards to that, so we start having it immediately. What you're seeing right there, I just cut and pasted that thing off of our analytics. That's all the arrests that happened in Kent. I don't remember what time frame I used or whatnot, but if it was live, I could go and put my cursor right over one of those circles, and it would show us the address, lat long of exactly where it happened, what or how many people were arrested, was it an adult, was it a juvenile, the case number, what the arrest was for, and I think I said the date and time as well. And so you could literally see that everything that has gone on in the city just based upon this analytic map. And they can build these maps to where it could be all stolen cars, all trespass. Anything that you can think of, we can build it now. Now, mind you, it's in the infancy stage. So there's things that we still need to work on to be able to make that work. That reminds me too, we have automatic vehicle locators and body cams. Those things are now being able to live stream, or they have live stream, but they're the same concept where when they're activated and our officers and stuff are on the street, we can pull up a map and know exactly where each officer is and where each car is. So you think if there was an emergent situation where an officer calls out and they need help, instead of trying to figure out where they're at, we can just pull up this map and we immediately know what's going on, you know. And so those are the little things that we're doing. For future, really quick, like their drone program, I don't know if that's been discussed much, but we're developing a process and a way to actually deploy drones on calls for service to maybe get ahead of an actual police officer showing up on scene. That would help out with information of how dangerous is the situation that they're getting into when they get there. Or maybe we don't need to send a police officer because we can understand that we can solve that issue of whatever it was just by utilizing a drone. And then our real-time crime center, everything that I talked about, picture it all coming together and being staffed by people watching video, pulling up this intel, and then getting that stuff out during in-progress calls. And that something like that would really make it feel as if we have a lot more cops out on the street than we actually do. But it's just working smarter, letting technology kind of take care of the things that usually bog us down, and then just becoming more efficient. So I could talk for hours about this stuff if you want. I was only supposed to get 10 minutes and I went over, and so if you have any questions, just let us know. So.
All right, so now we come to what we want from you. GIS Day is an event that's an international event. It's held on the 3rd Wednesday of November. City of Kent has participated and done a GIS Day event here in council chambers over the past few years. GIS Day being the 3rd Wednesday of the month is tomorrow. And we are having a GIS Day event here tomorrow. Philip's not going to be here, but the rest of us will be here. The rest of my staff is going to be here. We do this as an open house style event where staff come and interact with our analysts, kind of get to learn and be inspired on how we're using GIS. Hopefully it kind of sparks some interest in them and how they can apply GIS themselves. In fact, last year at our GIS Day event, Samantha Smith in law stopped by, and she was inspired by it. She's had a lot of conversations with law about code enforcement and how we might be able to do something there. And so Public Works is just beginning to start to create a GIS code enforcement application so they can start to collect all that information together, what's happening across multiple departments, put it in one place so law can really kind of assist all of the departments a little bit better. So that was just one example of how GIS Day has kind of helped grow this throughout the city. We are doing our open house tomorrow, our GIS Day open house from 11 to 2 tomorrow right here in council chambers. We would love to see you guys here. Come and interact with us if you are able to get down here. See some of the other things that we're also doing across the city with GIS too. And that's what we've got for you.
Thank you so much, Heath. Thank you, Cassidy, Dan, and Phil, for being here and sharing all this information. I tried the Loop Trail on my phone, really cool. And my question was for Dan, I believe, for ACD. The aerospace map, is that public facing?
Yes, it is.
Okay, all right, thank you, because I haven't tried looking for it, but I might at some point.
We'll send it
That's
on
really
over to
cool.
you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Councilmember Fincher.
Hi, thank you. I like that map too. But I have a question for Cassidy. So if I'm a parent, I have a child who has a disability, I want to go to a park. I saw asset management system is there. So I want to go to a park and I want to know, is the park going to be accessible? Accessible could be anywhere from, I could put a wheelchair on a trail, or is there actual equipment that my child could use? Are the individual pieces of equipment, can I go onto a map, click the park, and then see each asset that is there at the park?
Not currently. Not currently. That is not, you can't go in and look at all of the different assets that are in the park, but there is a find a park application that is on the city's website. And I don't know that it has accessibility in it yet, but that's something that we're looking into.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I think I find GIS very cool. I've always found it very cool. I think my first interaction was at National League of Cities at one point where I got to try Esri and at their booth, and that was kind of cool. So I really enjoy it, and I probably will be stopping by here tomorrow to see you all at some point. So, but with that, thank you so much for this information, and looking forward to what more we can achieve with this and how much more information we can provide for our residents. So this is really exciting. Thank you so much.
Yep, thank you. We'll be back next year.
All right. Thank you. With that, we are adjourned until 7 o'clock for council meeting.